The all-new Range Rover today in our extensive driving review here with Thomas and we can see the new generation still has very strong front grille. This is a special color called Sunset Gold, a matte look. This color alone is 9,000 euros or dollars indeed. New daytime running light and also new LED lamps and more aerodynamics here for the Range Rover. We'll see if this has an effect then on the overall consumption later on. We will also test the V8 today. And you can see here in the side profile, first of all, these wheels here for the very first time, 23-inch wheels are available. This is the maximum now possible. But you can also get smaller one, 21, 22 and so on. Here you can see the flush door handles go out when I approach the vehicle. In the side profile, 5 meters and 5 or 199 inches is the length. However, there's also a long wheelbase version, 20 centimeters or 8 inches longer, then also with more leg room there in the rear. This one here with the contrasting then black in the lower part and the typical Range Rover styling, upright, angular. You can still see the very first Range Rover in this design, and that's what I like about this vehicle. It's unique. More and more vehicles go in this very round direction. This one here still shows the angular shape. That's really cool. Technology-wise, not only you get air suspension as standard, but also the rear axle steering is standard. New feature, 7.3 degrees maximum in the opposite direction than the front wheels. That massively reduces the turning circle to just under 11 meters. It's more like a turning circle of a small vehicle then. That makes it so much more versatile in basement garage and so on, and also a little bit more agile. But how agile is it? What's the focus of this vehicle? In our extensive driving part today, we'll clear out more from that. By the way, if you guys wondered, does it look too low? This is the entry level niveau. Now I'm putting up to the normal driving height, and then you can also go to off-road riding height, and this would then be ground clearance of 30 centimeters or 11 inches or a wading depth of even 90 centimeters. So this is now really high. As you can see, that's very interesting, and normal to me, it looks really in that normal driving height. And you still get an off-road gear reduction and also a rear differential lock, so it is still off-road capable. Here in the rear, once again, the angular look. Tail lamps are now vertical, and soon you will also see at our other vehicle that the turning indicators are basically hidden. You cannot see them when they're not active, and they appear then. This will be very interesting, I can promise. So this one here is our matte golden vehicle. What about the green one? Now we switch colors. At Jaguar, they would call this one here British Racing Green. At Land Rover or at Range Rover, they call this Belgravia Green, named after the city part of London where you find a lot of these vehicles indeed. So the darker look for this one here. Tell me if you like it more. Of course, even more colors are available, and you can see here in this case then the bright contrasts to these are a little bit more prominent. It's one of the very rare vehicles where you can't see me when I'm behind the car. Here we, by the way, have 22-inch wheels. Already big enough, I would say, visually. Or what do you think? And I want to show you this cool shot here in the woods. Ooh, now with the daytime running light on, you can see it even better than in bright sun. And here the turning indicators. Very nice here also with the cascading function. And we also have a cascading here in the rear. And yeah, that's really remarkable, right? Because here this is vertical and then this is horizontal. Looks really unique indeed, but not that sophisticated, or is it just me? And another very cool look for the Range Rover is of course always the all-white color. Very famous, of course, traditionally for customers in the Middle East as well. And when it's white, you can also see that here the greenhouse, all blacked out, really creates this contrast for that flying roof, so to speak. Here, by the way, also 22-inch wheels. And among the most sold colors will once again be black. And this one here is also special because this is the long wheelbase version. 20 centimeters or 8 inches more in length, and that is all wheelbase. And you see, well, not too much different from the exterior. It's really like this here, this, or then you can see it here. This is then the additional length it has, and it has an immediate effect on the leg room because of the 20 centimeters or 8 inches, 19 centimeters goes into the leg room, and we'll see the comparison later on in the interior part. When I'm approaching the vehicle, these flush door handles automatically come out. There we go. Thank you for listening to me. And then Soft close is also a standard here, but I prefer that cool door closing sound. Ah, that just sounds lovely. I would actually ignore the soft close just to hear that. So then, inside of the doors, here in the bright side, and I love this matte wood. You feel the matte wood. Here it also very cool. Door pockets. This is a little bit placed, lower and hidden. When you close the door, you hardly see the opening and closing function. This is the autobiography interior, and with high floor mats, so not super clean, but it's hard here in this off-road situation. Then here steering wheel with a nice dual tone, and the seats, however, how they look like from the form, and look at that here. This is the animal skin leather. Oh, it looks old and like granny's sofa. I recommend the new animal leather free interior with, on the inside, Ultra fabrics it's called. This is a high-grade leatherette. On the outside then is so-called quadrat fabric. That still has some wool share, so it's not completely animal free, but almost. And the Ultra fabrics, that's, by the way, a very interesting thing. So if people think, oh, wait a minute, no, animal skin is top luxury. It's actually not. This Ultra fabrics is among the highest grade leatherettes, and the most expensive leather in this world is a leatherette used on yachts. So on the most expensive boats, the Ultra Fabrics company is also producing for yachts, because on the outside animal skin would rot anyway, and this is now being applied and also to cars, and it was a better and softer and more premium seating experience. We had it in our studio episode. Besides that, ergonomics of the seat is good. You have this command driving position, that's how they call it, the Range Rover, and with 1.89 m or 6'2" here, a lot of headroom still left. We do have a panoramic roof. There is this, turn on the ignition first, there is this shade first. Oh, now it's beeping all the time. So turn off the ignition now that the beep is not annoying you. Here now the opening of the panoramic roof leaves a lot of nice air in. Yeah, you have a lot of space here in the front, that's nice. Then the car also comes with active noise cancellation. For this generation, they worked on the noise insulation, but also if you pick the sound system we have here in this high trim, the Meridian Signature sound system, that one automatically comes with active noise cancellation. And in this case, it works with speakers that are inside the head restraints, both passenger and driver, and also in the passenger side. And now it's a very interesting thing with noise cancellation, active noise cancellation. We had it in a couple of vehicles, Ford Edge for example, the Mercedes S-Class Maybach. And to me, passive noise cancellation was always better in vehicles. And the active one, you somehow felt like there's like a vacuum next to your ears, and it's like really unpleasant. It's silent but unpleasant. Here, I already tell you right now, because we can talk about in the here now and later on see the effect on driving. I can already tell you right now, here it's great. It's awesome. It's maybe something to do that the speakers are kind of like here who are doing the noise insulation, not somewhere else, the noise cancellation. And it's really, it adds more silence to the car without having this vacuum effect. So here really the active noise cancellation on spot, and that makes here the all-new Range Rover one of the most silent cars overall on the market. From the inside, of course. Not that V8 on the outside. Oh well. Imagine you bought a car for 175,000 euros or dollars. And then you get this key fob. Seriously? Interior overview, a new clean setup. This screen here seems a little bit attached on it, but here you can see Apple CarPlay integration, Android Auto, both wireless. Really very large, Suma deals to that very interesting screen. Then you can see here this typical Range Rover setup here with this dual glove box. That's also a unique feature as always. On the left side with the steering wheel, very large, a mix of real buttons and capacitive BS, however, with nice feedback. Soon also more to these digital instruments. In the lower part here we have still real climate dials. This is also notable to take a closer look at that. And then in the front, inductive charging pad, USB-C charging. Here is the terrain select. This is where you can select your off-road driving modes. And then cup holders, really large. And here, yeah, very well attached with a cooling box underneath. Screen details, you either have this home screen Or you have this smaller icon view. There you can also access the car internal GPS, even if you connect it to Apple CarPlay and Auto wirelessly. And this is also decently responsive indeed. And we also have the Meridian signature sound system in here. And this delivers a very nice sound. And indeed, even more, the louder you put it. Now at this moment, you don't hear so much around, but when you put it louder, then it increases also from that surround sound. Really interesting. Other than that, we also have some other nice menu features. For example, here then you can access the height, driving height or so. Very notable is the camera. Here you also have this off-road camera. You can see the wheels left and right, that you don't damage them. That's actually pretty cool. The normal on-road camera looks like this. You can have this 3D view and go to certain places or go around the vehicle. That's very impressive indeed. Or have this. It is a really cool thing you can do it, but you also have like the normal rear view camera if you like it that way. And you can also switch to this transparent bonnet feature. You can see here, this is the live image, and then underneath the bonnet you will get let's say like 1 second, 2 second delay. There we go. So this is like kind of like the old image, but still I can see if there's a rock underneath the car, and then that I don't damage the wheels from the inside. The normal back mirror can be switched to this digital one, for example when luggage is stacked up all over the place. And then here you can actually also change the brightness if you're driving at night or something, and you can also change the height. The angle of the digital instruments is not ideal, like in the Mercedes EQS. More upright would be better, I think. However, they're still clear to read, and also have the shade in the top part, so that's actually fine. You can have this map there in the middle, but you can also switch to other options and other display layouts. That does take a while, to load. Here, for example, there's a map view where you have it full screen. Head display usually shows speed and allowed speed. Hey, there's the other Range Rover coming. And you can also have some GPS information if you have a route set in there. A nice spot to see the ambient lighting is definitely here in that glove box area, and you can pick different colors, so that's actually quite fancy. Nice detail here, the illuminated seat belt holders. Rear doors are also soft close here. Then inside, same design as in the front, with a nice bright wood. And then with this button I can switch if I just control the left window or the right window, or both at the same time. So for example, when I here now either lower the windows, here also dual insulation glass also at the rear, it also does the same here on the other side. And when I lift it, then goes back up, and I can also apply then both shades at the same time, also come up here electronically. Really nice. You can already see it right now in that short wheelbase version, because the seats are all so voluminous, there's not so much space left. You can also electronically control the rear seats. So for example, you can put them longer forward there, but it doesn't make too much sense because you don't have too much legroom anyway. And you can also change the angle right here, and I'll do it all from the inside of the doors. But how's the comfort actually? Oh, this is now a sleeping position, so not too much rear legroom left. Considering the length of the vehicle, the amount of legroom that is left here in the short wheelbase version is, it's really bad, I have to say. This is the lying back position here. You can also of course put it a little bit more upright. So indeed, if you want more rear legroom, you have to go for the long wheelbase version. In the middle part is also not that good to sit on. It's more thought for two tall Ls in the rear. This is it's just a weird situation in here when you're sitting in the middle part actually. What is more the useful sense of that, and then here again they do everything electronically, and I'm not sure if that's really the best solution, and if it's all bringing much more comfort. It also takes ages until these things happen, and sometimes you really think like, okay, why is that? For example, now and again when I want to put it back, you have to use this screen here, and then it goes back like this, and once again, takes time. And for example, here on the other side, there's also then a button to raise this middle head restraint. There we go. And just listen to that and see again how long it takes. I have to hold this one. I have to hold this one that way. And I really don't understand. is this really bringing more comfort or luxury to the car when you do it like this, instead of like doing the manual just and that's it? We would like to hear your opinion on that. And it goes even worse. I can show it to you. First of all, here there's now this cover where you have space for your smartphone, but underneath there's charging. This is not inductive charging in the top. And also here, you see this cover here? I know, I feel the cable is behind it for that, but I don't know if that's really the best solution. And then you think about like, what is this here? This is actually then, I have to hold this button then. Seriously? This is, it's almost comedy, I really have to say, because now these are the cup holders. And that took me a minute, and yeah, then that way they close again. Are there customers who found these features cool when it takes a minute to open the cup holes? Because, hey, it's electric? What do you guys think? And now the long wheelbase version, you remember? Additional 19 centimeters or almost 8 inches than in the legroom more. And you can already see a way more space indeed. The door is also a little bit longer. And you see, when I got into the other vehicle, you know, I was almost at the seat, and that was indeed this difference here. So if you're frequently driving with tall passengers in the rear, that's of course then way to go. Let me see if everything was really in the rear. Oh, not even. Let's see. That is then the most backward position. But this is then, in this case, I can go more forward with the seat. That is actually possible. So then I have just a longer seating area without compromising on the legroom. So that's definitely more comfortable. You can also get this rear seat entertainment. Basically looks the same as in the front. And also to the other seat here, yeah, this is just more spacious than overall. So I would like to know from you, if you would go for Range Rover, would you take the long wheelbase version? Trunk area, you have to find the buttons here, and this is a cheap haptic feeling indeed. And also here on the top part here, this button with the rubber, you know, frame around. When the car is so expensive, it has to face, you know, also these meticulous tests indeed. What I love about this vehicle is here that you can put down this additional bench. We know that from the Bmw X5, X7, but it has been a Range Rover feature, of course, at first and for a very long time. It's just lovely to sit here and also have a picnic, for example, with your partner. That's really cool. The width here is a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches. That's cool. And the normal trunk length to, you know, where it ends right here, it depends on, you know, how close that bench then is when I move to the ground. Then it's also here a meter or 40 inches in the normal length. And you can do, let's say, really funny stuff with all these things here. For example, raise this one here. This is just, you know, that it closes like this. Okay. But then there's this latch here you can release, and then you can fold up like this. You have more space underneath. That is possible. Then actually you have to close it firmly. Then you have this, and this makes a backrest then for the picnic seat area, like this. You can lean against it a little bit. There is another solution to, let's say, yeah, there we go. So, and this is a place to secure luggage here, but also you can see here that the luggage that is back there is secured and doesn't fly all over the place. So this is, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit complicated, but at least you have the possibilities. And now it gets also exciting because on the right hand side here we have this control unit. And first of all, this top part here, this is actually electronically controlling that top cover. So you see here, it's also being done automatically. And once again, a solution of, can it be just easier? Does it have to be electronic? I don't know. And also, look at that. When I press it here, look, that whole thing moves. I'm not sure if that is really, you know, suitable for such a pricey vehicle. What's your take on that? And then when I push down these buttons, then you see actually, then the whole seats are being folded. It sounds like you're on the roller coaster, and you know, you're on the top on the roller coaster before going down, you know what I mean? And see here, these seats here, there are different configurations for seats, of course, are available. 7-seater configuration for the long wheelbase version as well. And here then the total length is about 2 meters or 78 inches almost, a little bit less, but you see here it really raises up to the sky. Under the hood, this is the engine I want to show you. This is the 4.4 liter V8 by BMW. They put it here in the Range Rover, 530 horsepower, 4.6 seconds is the acceleration figure, so called P530, and that's the cool naming system at Jaguar Land Rover. P or D and then the horsepower figure, that still makes sense in contrast to the other manufacturers where you don't even know what the naming of the engine is supposed to mean. Other choices would be 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel or petrol, based on the latter one, also plug-in hybrids, and in 2024 they will be the all-electric Range Rover. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge, to the luxury driving lounge today with the all-new Range Rover. And the first thing that comes to your mind when starting with a drive here, first in the city, soon on the motorway, it's so smooth, it's silent, it's super silent. You hear nothing from the outside world, absolutely nothing. So looking forward how it will be when we drive it a little bit faster very soon, but so far, wow, very sophisticated. The air suspension is set on a very soft note. That's what I really love about the Range Rover. You get more and more air suspensions on the car market that do deliver you also good comfort, but considering it's an air suspension, they're often just too rough, you know, although they are air suspensions. And to me, this is here like this floating feeling. This is what air suspensions are all about. So this is directly at the start of the review actually my favorite thing about the Range Rover. It was the same thing and it still remains the same thing. Great noise insulation, and especially in this new generation, and now you have really very soft air suspension still. That's lovely. However, now in a dynamic mode, it's a little bit stiffer, but still when I'm here steering around, this does not convey sporty driving fun at all. So this is not what this car is supposed to be. And I think that's totally fine, you know, when they say, hey, this is our setup here with the soft air suspension, this is totally fine because this sets it apart from the competition. A Bmw X7, for example, will deliver you great driving fun, although it's a huge SUV, still delivers comfort as well. Yes, also the Mercedes GLS, for example, also better driving dynamics, maybe not as good as with the BMW. And when you think about like an Audi Q7, Audi Q8, for example, not direct competitors, but this one also delivers great driving dynamics, for example. But here really everything set on a note to be relaxed and smooth. And we switched here now to the motorway. I don't even feel the difference between city road and motorway, noise insulation wise. Thomas B, you hear anything else?
Very, very silent.
Yeah. So Thomas B agrees. You might think, oh, it's just silent in the city. No, it's not. Here on the motorway now, trucks around us, everything, speed not too high yet, but really very nice. One of the new crucial things is that rear axle steering, 7.3 degrees maximum of the rear wheels turning in the different direction than the front wheels. And that is very helpful. So when we're getting out of the parking lot, for example, it's so easy to do then, and especially at low speeds, it feels more agile, but not in a sporty way. So more in a way of easing the car in and out of the parking lot, for example, narrow basement garage, super helpful feature, and even standard. That's of course really cool. The rear axle steering to me is the best thing that comes new to the Range Rover, which increases the everyday driving life experience, makes it just easier to handle, and it feels like driving it with a shorter wheelbase. And that's also the thing about wheelbase. There is this long wheelbase version available too, and the difference in driving will in this generation be less significant, because when you have the rear axle steering, once again, it feels like the wheelbase would be shorter, And then also that difference between short and long wheelbase is being diminished a little bit. So you'll be also quite fine with the long wheelbase version then. Might be interesting if you want to go for that 7-seater option, or if you just want to have more legroom in the rear. Is it worth, now as it stands here now, 175k? That's therefore a tough one. And also if you think about the competition, where this one here is rather even more expensive, driving wise, I would say it is not justified that this one here is even more expensive than the competition. It doesn't feel more elaborated or sophisticated. In driving dynamics, it does lack a lot. Are the other ones therefore less comfortable? Wouldn't say so. No, they don't have the very soft suspension setup. But on the other hand, for example, I feel that the other manufacturers, for example, offer better seat ergonomics, from the pure ergonomics way of the seat. Yeah, that's the thing. Interesting, definitely. As for the engine, this is here the Bmw engine, the 4.4 liter V8. And in the Range Rover, it scores 4.6 seconds, 0 to 1 kilometers or 0 to 62 miles an hour. Whereas in the Bmw X7 with the very same spec, it's 4.7 seconds. Well, not too big of the difference, but now there's no one behind us. We can show you some more. Let's go to that dynamic mode once again. Or maybe from 20 kilometers an hour. Let's accelerate from 20 to 80. Plop, that's it. Yeah, really nice. And I'm not sure if you could see that on camera, but since the suspension is so soft, you it lifts in the top. So you really feel that also while accelerating, that the whole car lifts in front. And that's also, by the way, why originally, especially sports cars, they are all rear-wheel driven, because it's just physics that while accelerating, the weight shifts to the back of the vehicle, and then you have more traction at the rear of the vehicle and need exactly the power applied right there. And here this permanent all-wheel drive also has the rear wheel bias. That's also very important to that, and yeah, definitely very good from that engine here, the power. However, as for the fuel economy, that's a tough thing to swallow here. So we've been driving really, really calmly. So this was one acceleration now, but before that we were like driving ideal conditions for a low fuel consumption, and at this moment we are rather towards 18 liters on 1 kilometers. That will drop down probably a little bit more when the more we go, but that's like, is it like 15 mpg or something? And this, I don't even have this number in my head because we never have such a high fuel consumption. The thing is that with on longer trips in the US with cruise control and so on, with the Bmw X7, I remember I used some 14 liters on 1 kilometers, so less than 20 mpg possible. So it seems that the Range Rover here is more fuel consuming than the X7, at least for the first impression now. With the 6-cylinder, there was like 3 or 4 liters on 1 kilometers difference, and you could, score like 5, 6, 7 mpg more. So yeah, the 8-cylinder is really fuel consuming. The thing is, why would you go for the 8-cylinder in this car here? Well, if you don't want the Range Rover or Land Rover engine. So if you want that BMW engine, if you trust more in the BMW engine build quality, then you would get this one. And yes, we all know that reliability issues is something that Land Rover, Range Rover and Jaguar, they have been struggling with that, especially in the past years. There's no denying the fact, and also if you look at reliability rankings and so on. So that might indeed be the main, not because you really need the power in the car, more about the, hey, I'm buying this car and I really want to keep that car for a longer period of time. If you're going just for a short lease, you might think, hey, I save the money and don't get the one. But if you intend to keep it and want more reliability, I would probably say now, even though, you know, I can't say what happens with this car in the future, you know, but when we compare what experience we so far have, is that the BMW engine will probably be a little bit longer lasting than a pure Land Rover built engine indeed. That's not what I, you know, think, but when we look at reliability figures and stats and so on. Beautiful roads then here in Austria, near Salzburg. By the way, do you know, like the city of Salzburg, direct translation would be Salt Castle. It's funny, right? So, and now let's go here into the shadows. Yeah, it's really nice ride in here. Now that V8 power sets in, we can accelerate it out. Beautiful, really nice. Yeah, that engine really is some nice thing to drive, but fuel economy wise, I know it's not good from the X7, but what it consumes here in this vehicle is it's really off the scale. So I didn't believe that in 2022 we still have new driving events where we have engines that consume that much fuel. Really didn't expect that at all. Wow. So here we go. See here, 90-degree bend. Yeah, I don't have to turn the steering wheel too much, but the feeling in the steering wheel is actually not that natural. So yeah, here, first off-road feature. So the thing is, you hardly have a feeling for the car. Oh, this one here is, when you steer that vehicle, it feels like steering through thin air. There is no feedback from that steering whatsoever. Nothing happening with the steering wheel in the feedback, even not here in the dynamic mode. So even though when they don't have this dynamic focus here in that vehicle, it should still offer me some kind of feedback that I know what's happening with that steering wheel. At least that's, you know, that's what I think. So, but definitely super interesting experience here on the road so far. And now some off-road driving. We pick here different off-road modes. Grass, gravel and snow is for this case then enough. In here this wading mode that we could score the maximum ground clearance of 30 centimeters or 11 inches. Here we don't need that one. What we can also do is actually here also in this grass mode, you know, put the car a little bit higher here in the off-road mode, then the ride height is being increased. That's quite cool. And the thing is, when you increase the ride height, of course you lose suspension travel, you know, to one side. Actually, you gain it to the other one. But when you have to think about the vehicle can work less, you know, in optimum case. So putting the car higher doesn't mean it gets less comfortable actually. So if you do not necessarily need it, then also it doesn't make so much sense. But here, of course, it's just for safety then that you actually don't hit anything on the ground and so on. And what's also interesting is that we can take a look at this camera system. This is also this off-road view where we can see how the wheels are being turned. Here, this is then this transparent hood system. I can see what's underneath us, and also if we damage something here from the wheels and so on. Here now, in the off-road situation, this rather soft steering wheel makes sense, you know, doesn't get turned all the way around, and when something in the, you know, like ruts or something are moving the wheels, moving the steering wheels. So here it's kind of more relaxed to have this very, very soft and almost feel less steering. On road driving, where this car is primarily being used, it is indeed a hindrance. So I'm not sure if I would take that then for that. So yeah, and what is also good is that this very soft suspension, that is helping us also in off-road driving to make off-road driving actually quite comfortable. I think the main thing is really you have this good comfort while off-road driving if you want to use it for off-road driving at some point. And it can, you know, it is capable with 30 centimeters of ground clearance in the maximum driving height position, and also there's 90 centimeters of wading depth where you can really go through water. The question is really, who would do that with the Range Rover? Would you do that? Then put me that in the comments, and maybe you own a Range Rover and have done some off-roading. Would be looking forward to that, definitely. Tune into the competitor reviews, Mercedes GLS, also with an off-road driving part, and the BMW X7.